Well, here we are again. Hope everybody's okay. What we want to do is basically hit the weather this time. I think the biggest problem with our weather is going to be the fact that you see the sun is going to be conjoining Saturn here in Scorpio, a very cold, wet sign, taking the heat right out of that area of the sun's position. So I have a feeling that the winter season is going to really be a little bit more severe for the next week than we were expecting. First of all, what we're looking at over here is for the West Coast. We're looking at Pisces is rising, and with Pisces rising, that's a cold, wet sign. And we look down here, we see that Gemini is bringing in that weather, which is cold and wet for the dry to some degree, but pretty much cold weather. And changeable, because, well, Geminis are changeable too. So we can expect quick changes in and out of the weather forecasting. But that idea of quick changes in the process of this wet, cold, and this hot Uranus sitting here, I'm wondering if California doesn't see a little bit of seismic activity that might make the news. That would indicate something along that line. Not that it would happen, but it does seem it seems a strong probability. The thing is too is that we're looking at this conjunction coming up with the moon in a very cold sign. Capricorn and square to it is also emphasizing a little bit colder week that we would normally expect along that line. So we're looking at that. For people, the Sun-Saturn conjunction is very emphatic about the idea of Saturn being in Scorpio. So those of you who are under 8 years old, you're going to be coming up with a Saturn return, as it's called in this business. And Saturn return is generally just something that turns us around in our thinking. A lot of people who have strong beliefs in some direction usually will question those beliefs and start making alternative choices. And people who have been lackadaisical in their beliefs, well, they'll turn around and start making some changes that really emphasize what they feel is a strong goal-oriented position. Those of us who have seen a Saturn return and are getting ready to do it again who are over 28, all we have to do is look back to 30 years ago and relate the 28 to 30 year period. And however that period was treating us at the time will also tell us that we can expect some same kind of a situation developing around our life right now. So this Saturn is giving us a very strong emphasis with the sun sitting on it in Scorpio. A lot of things to deal with 8th house issues, taxes, death, circumstances that are around, dealing with inheritances and legacies and things like that. So that strong emphasis is really pushing hard, especially I believe for the weather. So we're looking at this situation here for the West Coast. We're seeing some rain up north. I have a feeling this is what this is going to be all about in the northern section of California, Oregon, maybe even Washington, some heavy rains, especially as the moon starts moving down towards Neptune and even on down towards Uranus. Then it will make a full moon opposing these two, and that will give us even more weather. So this does not look like the most promising weather situation that we could possibly ask for. If we move over to Denver, we can see that this is settling down a little closer towards the 7th house. Well, now we're getting a little stronger activity here, and I would think that if we're looking at Denver, we can expect some snow. That would be a strong signature of that, especially with the intensity of Pluto sitting up here in the 10th house, reflecting that wet Cancer signature, and of course that cold moon that's sitting in here. So I have cold and dry, cold and wet, a little bit of heat here in that first house to say, well, this is looking like a storm developing, and I wouldn't be too surprised if we don't see a snowstorm for around Thursday or Friday of this week in Denver, because that looks like it's just about the time it's going to be over in that direction. So I would think that we might watch for that. So although we have pleasant temperatures at the moment, that's what this is indicating. As soon as that changes down into Taurus, the temperatures will drop. You'll probably go from, well, whatever your current temperature is right now, I'm not sure, but you'll probably see this getting cold enough to start watching some snow coming in. So I would not be surprised if we don't see any snow in Denver over the time coming up with that. If we look over to Chicago area, look at this. Now we have the blustery Mercury sitting here. And of course, Chicago has always been known as the blustery, windy city. Well, this may add to it. And I have a feeling that we're going to see some rain and blustery wind that's bringing that in. And we're looking at again, a wet temperature situation here, and we're looking at a cold here. So this is giving us a lot of cold weather, and Mercury showing its ugly little head over here is going to emphasize that, especially with Jupiter all confused here and moving up into that section. So I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot of rain, probably some thunderstorms out in Chicago, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't snow there too. That's still trying to play a game, but I have a feeling that that's what we're looking at. All this cold against that heat, against the cold temperature here, some of the heat trying to creep in, working is not going to work that well for us. It will develop a rather cold temperature situation. For our friends over here in Boston, we're looking at Mars right on the descendant, and that descending Mars is indicating a temperature that'll probably go up a little bit warmer than we expect, but just after that, watch it drop again, because once that passes by and the moon starts playing its game with these two planets, we will see a cold temperature indeed. So that opposition I don't care for too much, because generally we had that little thing about a earthquake back in Maine here about a week ago, and this could produce another seismic reaction or another seismic activity, especially with the hot against the cold. This is again a reaction type of a thing. So I have a feeling that the weather this week is going to be really severe. We're going to see some changes that we're going to watch and say, well, stay warm, keep dry. I'll see you next week.